Today we're going to talk a little bit about contingent offers, how they work here in North Carolina, and more specifically, we're going to talk about how they kind of work here in the Triangle, which, if you don't know, is the Raleigh-Durham, Chapel Hill sort of area, and it includes everything in between and expanding. I have so many buyers that come to me saying, "Hey, Nina, we would love to buy a house, but we can't purchase it until we sell our house." That is what a contingency is. Your future purchase is hinging on the sale of your current home. And I know that in many states, this works fantastically. So for example, you put down a certain deposit, you have a certain amount of time, 45 to 60 days, sometimes a little longer, on that to close in order for you to sell your home. Well, let me tell you that things here in North Carolina work a lot differently. So I know it makes a lot of sense. You can't buy that home until you have the funds from your current one to pay for it. Okay. And in many other states, when you put down that deposit, if your home doesn't sell and you cannot go through with the other purchase, you can get all or a portion of that back. Well, I'm going to remind you that in North Carolina, we have two different types of deposits. The first one is called the due diligence fee, and the second is the earnest money, which operates like many of the other states. If you don't know the difference between these two, I have created several YouTube videos about it. Go back and watch those. I'll give you a quick recap right now. The due diligence fee is something that you make out, like your check is made out directly to the seller. They deposit it into their account, and you only get that back if you go to closing. The earnest money is held by the attorney, and if you back out by a certain time, you can get that back. So why would somebody give a due diligence non-refundable deposit if there's a chance they may not get it back if their home doesn't sell? That's a good question. In order to understand why the seller would want the due diligence fee, you have to consider that the due diligence fee is paying for the time that you have taken the house off the market in order for you to do your inspections and all that good other stuff and sell your home. And people often ask me, "Nina, is it a percentage of what it will be, of the purchase, or will it be something else?" And the answer to that is, it depends. It depends on how popular that house is, if there were multiple offers on it, how long it's been on the market, its location. All of that will depend on the portion of the due diligence fee that you're giving to the seller. Now, the seller, let's say it's a normal 30-day close, they expect like an average amount, right? For that time, that season, that home. But if you're going to ask for a lot longer than 30 days, 45, 60, in order to sell your home, they're going to want more due diligence for the time that the home is off the market. So that due diligence fee kind of equates to time, right? That makes sense. You need a certain amount of time, that's a certain amount of due diligence. You need longer, it's going to be more. So now you, as the buyer, are in a little bit of a pickle. You really want to buy this house, or any other house for that matter, but you really can't do it until you sell your home. Then you have to come to grips with the fact that you're going to have to put in a certain amount of due diligence that you could possibly lose. The earnest money, yes, you're going to be able to get that portion back by a certain date and time if you don't sell your home. But the sellers don't care about the earnest money. The sellers care more about the due diligence because, again, that's time that they could have potentially had other buyers looking at the home. You've taken away that opportunity for them, and that's why they're going to hold on to that money. So now you're wondering, why would I even go ahead and do this? Well, you have a couple of options ahead of you. So one option for you as a buyer is to work with a lender that has a program that can turn you into a cash buyer. What does that even mean? Well, it's a little bit complicated, but the quick answer is this. The lender gives the money to the seller. They can close in as little as 2 weeks or the 30 days, and the seller is happy. They have the money, and they can just feel confident with the sale going through. You then have a certain amount of time to sell your home and repay the lender back for what they've done. Now, the title will be in your name and everything will be there. But again, just like anything, there will be fees associated with this. But for some buyers, that may be the only opportunity for them to purchase a home if they really have to sell this one. So you're going to have to weigh out, do I really want to either lose the due diligence fee, and it could be hefty in certain situations here in the triangle, or do I want to explore the option of working with a lender that can turn me into a cash buyer, and then I owe them the money plus the fees? You have to weigh out the difference between them, and the only way to do that is to do your homework. All right, the next option that you have is to put your house on the market and sell it while you are shopping for your new home. And I get it. It doesn't feel good, because if you sell your current home and you still have not found your future home, you're going to think that I'm going to be homeless. How can I do this, Nina? And we've come into this scenario many times in the past. Some people rent an Airbnb, some people take an apartment until they have found the one. But the key was to sell that home so that they weren't risking the big due diligence fee. But then you're saying, but then I'm paying rent. Well, is the rent a lot more than your mortgage was? Is it kind of equal? Because again, weigh out all of the scenarios here so that you can compare losing the due diligence amount to what it potentially might cost you in a rental of an Airbnb or an apartment. So getting that house on the market could, again, be a really good option for you as the buyer in order to not be contingent when buying the next home. Listen, I get it that it stinks that North Carolina does not have a contingency clause in their purchase agreement. And a lot of buyers ask, well, can't I just write one in? First of all, you're going to have to get an attorney to do that. You can't just do it. And in North Carolina, we don't have attorneys modifying the contract left and right like they do in other states. Hello, New Jersey and New York. So what I'm letting you know is that there's no way to really secure that due diligence and get it back with a contingency clause because we don't have one. In fact, our offer to purchase specifically states that regardless of whether you have another home to sell or not, this contract is binding. There you have it. So yes, trying to do a contingency here in North Carolina is more complicated than other states. You need to know your options. You need to be educated. And if you need assistance finding a lender that has one of those programs, I would be happy to help you. If you found this video helpful, please click subscribe, send it to anybody who's thinking about buying a home here in North Carolina, and I'll be happy to answer more of your questions here on YouTube about buying and selling in North Carolina.